Whack! Hello. Who's that Marc guy anyway? And what's he good for? I'm Warc. I've taken over Marc's stream. And I'm upside down. I thought it was funny. I'm not upside down. I'm the right way up. It's Marc that's upside down. I have a cat as well. My cat's also upside down. This is Wiccan as opposed to chicken. As you can see, chicken's not there. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the first Warc on Wednesdays. I wonder if I should have actually said something to the Discord that this was happening. Probably be okay. How are we all? Is my upload stream okay? It looks like it's not, it's probably okay. Wait. It's dropping quality a bit. I wonder what is happening to my internet connection right now. Wait, it's back. Alright, we're good. Hello. How are we all going? Hello, Dean. I was gonna say hello, Dongshu, but I think Dongshu was there at 3 a.m. saying that he loved the thumbnail. No, I am definitely having problems with my stream at the moment. Give me a second, I'll see what else is happening on my computer. Make sure there's nothing else downloading or uploading anything. You can watch Upside Down Chicken in the meantime. Yeah, there's definitely something wrong with my internet. Oh no, apparently it is definitely us. my partner said that there's definitely something wrong with our internet right now. That's okay though. We can just watch blurry pats for a little bit. Let me, also, while we're here, I'll just ping the Discord to remind people that we're online. So how's everyone going? I think at the moment for UNSW, it's week 11, right? So everyone's busy studying now. I actually don't think there's many people here at the moment. It could just be you and me, Dean. So, tonight, Zara's here, and Chewy exams are big bad. Oh, I'm sorry. Although, it's not my fault anymore. It's now someone else who's causing the exams. Okay, so maybe there are more people here than I think there are, because my YouTube says there's only 2 people here, but I think there's more of us than that. Alright. Chicken has hopped down. I wonder if she's going to hop into her seat on Chicken Cam. We'll see how we go. In the meantime, welcome to Warc on Wednesdays. I hope your study's not going too bad. Today I have run out of paper theaters to build. Like, I built... How many do I have? 4? I had 4. I built one of them before we streamed, and then... oh, there you go. Chicken's in the spot. Hussein, who is this Marc you speak of? I'm Warc. Warc on Wednesdays has taken over from Marc on Mondays. Marc, I don't know who he is. He's obviously off doing something else. But this is Warc, and Warc has taken over. Chewy said, "Oh, you're ready to take graphics in term 3." No, I'm definitely not doing it. Unless something really weird happens and I go back to teaching at UNSW, which is highly unlikely. Yeah, so I think they just haven't assigned the lecture, but I thought that someone had already been assigned because there was news in on that regard. There you go. Chicken's gone to chicken camp, which is good. I didn't flip my gravity. Yeah, I went around to the other side of the world and didn't flip. Hang on a sec. Just turn that a little. Maybe a bit more. Oh, she's just looking at me. What are you doing? I should have made chicken into war chicken, yeah, and flipped that as well. But hello everyone. So who have we got here? Zero, Chewy, Hussein, Halogen, and Dean are here. Will Warc fulfill his ultimate fate? I don't think so, because I don't think Wario or Waluigi ever succeeded in anything they did either. So I think that they're always just kind of like, they're like dastardly bad guy that never actually does anything. So yeah. Let us, now that Warc has had the stream take over. Hi Nicole, how's it going? Let me switch over to some of the toys that we're playing with today, and I'll show you what I'm doing. I don't actually know that much. Oh, can Marc and Warc meet each other? Well, there is a possibility of Warc and Marc meeting each other. So, like, you know, why don't I just flick over to Marc and see what's happening? Uh-oh. Wait. This isn't Marc either. Okay, let's just do that. I'm editing my stream in mid. You should love it, like totally pro streamer editing the overlays during a stream. Okay, I don't become Marc until this thing appears. Where is it? Okay, that there goes. There? There we go. Now it's me. Hello, everyone. How's it going? Welcome to Marc on Mondays on Wednesday. I'm Marc. I've just started the stream. There's definitely not been anyone else streaming on this channel, because who else would stream on this channel but me? There couldn't possibly have been some kind of takeover by someone else. And then me having to re-edit my overlays and all this kind of stuff to make this work. Hi, everyone. Who's here? Hello. Hi, Nicole. Hi, Chewy. Hi, Zara. I didn't know you were here because obviously I only just started streaming. There was no one else potentially, possibly on this stream. Whack! I don't know. I'm trying to do a Waluigi voice, but like it's just like I don't know what he says other than wah. It's my stream now. But Chicken obviously stays here no matter what, because Chicken kind of owns the stream, and it's just between me and the guy I took over from. Is taking the stream. I am Warc. I am in charge of Warc on Wednesdays. Hey, I'm not sure what's going on. Had some technical issues there, but seems like the stream's back up now. Sorry everyone for just for a bit there. It wasn't uploading properly. Not sure what's happening, but now we're back. Wow! Okay, I'm gonna get bored of this soon. But but that was fun. Wow, it's really funny because like it actually does kind of look like Marc upside down. You know how like optical illusions when you flip something upside down, but part of it's the right way up, you like totally go with it and it's okay. That's what Warc looks like to me now. It actually looks like Marc, but the whole thing's upside down, even though most of it isn't. Oh, what's happening? What's happening? I'm having all these technical problems on my stream tonight. Anyway. Oh, Dean, you figured it out. It's actually the same person. This is an ad for Marvel's Moon Knight. I don't know if anyone else has actually been watching that, but you know, that's how it goes. Okay, I'm back. I hope you're all enjoying yourselves. I'm obviously a top class entertainer, and this is what I do to entertain people. What kind of sus Among Us stream when? Well, I think we did do an Among Us. Did we stream it? I think I may have streamed it with people in the Discord playing it with me, and so we were all on chat together, and so everyone could see what I was doing if they were watching the stream. So the people playing it had to turn off the stream while they were watching. But yes, today, going to let me just organize my camera. I have some stuff. Let's see if this is working. Yes, roughly. So Warc vented. Warc is totally sus, no matter what. So I have here. It's probably easier to see it here. Just a big DHL package here that I got from a place in New Zealand called, if I remember correctly, Battle Kiwi. And it's a bunch of MDF stuff that I ordered to build a big diorama. I should. I'm just ripping the package open. I'll show you the package once I get this bag open. And so I'm gonna have a look at this MDF stuff and see what I'm gonna make out of it. Also, should check before I put it on the camera that I don't actually have my name and address and bank details. I mean, they're not gonna have my bank details, but anyway. Okay, so here we go. Yeah, so I'm building a diorama for one of the miniatures games armies that I've been painting. I've been painting it over like I don't know how long. Probably 2.5 years, maybe 3 years. I don't know, because I know that I definitely got the miniatures for this before the pandemic started. So minimum 2 years since I started painting this. And so here's their little postcard or little personalized thing. Thanks for your order. Well, not entirely personalized, but a little bit personalized. And I've got this thing, which is I think they call it a battle wallet. It's for the game that I'm playing called Infinity. And like let's pop this open. Actually, we'll pop this open first, and then we'll go in and have a look at the Ooh, I got a sticker as well. I'm gonna put that sticker on my little carry case for my miniatures. I wonder if I need to turn the light on. No, actually, that looks fine without the light. Yeah, so this thing allows you to hold all the tokens, as you can see there, all the tokens for the game you're playing. So you can get the tokens out of this little wallet and put them on the table when you use them and stuff like that. I'll have to decide whether I actually paint this. You know, like I have that habit of just kind of painting everything for the games that I play. I probably won't paint this because it's not really like it's not necessarily going on the table or anything like that. But we'll see. We'll see how we go. Okay. Cool thing. See these little magnets? So I think that's what holds it together. So I can pop that off. And so this stuff all seals together with the magnets. What did Leon say? Wakiji time? I don't know. I'm actually not sure what that's referencing. But anyway, this is so that's the case, and it opens up, and each layer of this thing is held in by magnets. And so these are all part of what you use for the game. So Wakiji like Luigi. Yeah, I get where we're going now. So we've got these laser cut acrylic things that are going to go in stands like this, and you can use them on the table to represent certain things in the game, or to measure the proper size of the silhouette of the things in the game. So nice thing is this will be in this wallet, and it'll be kept kind of like all together in this case. And then we have space here for tokens. I haven't bought the extra tokens to put in here yet. Actually, maybe I did. Let me see if they're in here. I don't remember whether I bought extra tokens or not, because I know I've got some tokens that are in here. I think this is just space for extras if I want to. Oh, hello, John Cena. Yeah, and so here are bits that you use in the game, which is like, these are like order tokens, so you can pop these out. Oh, you pop them out the other way. And then you place on the table when you're using your orders to make things happen. What else have we got here? We've got some spinning dials as well. So 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way through to 10. So this here says objective, OBJ. So I think that's for recording how many objectives I've scored during the game, which is handy. And this thing is turns. There should be 3 turns in the game. So there's a 1, 2, and a 3. Yeah. So that's pretty cool. I can use that to track what's going on in the game. And there's different tokens for different things that happen in the game. So different types of these orders that you put on your little units and stuff. So this looks pretty handy. It's still a bit gummy from the factory. Maybe I will clean it up, do some sanding on it, something like that. Yeah. So this will come in quite handy. I think it's like a nice little thing to have while you're playing these games, because a lot of the time when you're playing these miniatures games, they can get quite complex. A lot of stuff can happen. And so it's nice to have one of these things that just says, okay, here's the stuff that you use. And I've got space for more tokens if I want to. I think some of the tokens I have will fit in there as well. So that's kind of cool. Not much crafting going on here with this. This is just a toolkit, I guess, that I'm going to be using in the game. I don't know if people remember the minis that I'm using for this game. I've actually showed them a couple of times. They're the black, white, and red ones I'm doing in a kind of a Sin City inspired look. Actually, thinking about it, today's not the interesting MDF. Like, it's stuff that I'm definitely going to use. But I bought another set which has like little buildings in the scale that I'm going to use for miniatures. I think, if I remember correctly, there. Let me hold it up to this camera. Hang on. Big pieces of MDF that are going to be used for stuff. So I think this one is the flat one. I can't remember exactly what I ordered. Oh, no. This is the interesting one. So this is like a road one, and this is a flat one that I might be using as a backdrop for something. So let's pop this one in front of us and switch back over to this scene. And I'll show you how this thing goes together. So what it's going to be is a It's about 30 by 30 centimeter road junction, and it'll end up being a nice base for me to put a lot of my miniatures on. I'm also going to do some tricky stuff with it. In a second I'll go to my army case and I'll show you what I was doing over there. I've put magnets in the bases of my miniatures so that they'll sit nicely when they're on metal. But I'm about to build a diorama for them here, which is made out of MDF. So I need to figure out how I'm going to end up showing the attaching the miniatures to the MDF. Okay, so I think that this is how it worked, where it's like this big section. Wow, my camera. Let me just zoom it out physically by moving my lamp. So this section here looks like the road because it's got these little grates that might be the road surface. These sections look like concrete, so this would be the curb. Hi, Michael. It is Warc here. Wait. Let's bring Warc back. It's Warc. Warc has taken over the stream for Warc on Wednesdays. Anyway, I'll go back to what I was doing. I did a whole thing at the start. I thought it was funny. As people were saying, I may have been having more fun than I should have there. Okay, so these sections here are going to be a little bit above that. So you can see there the thickness of like sort of 3mm MDF. So the curb is going to sit just a little bit higher than the road there. And then I can paint it all to look however I want it to look. So I don't know whether this is something that I'm going to have to glue together like this, or something that is held together by its own kind of... Excuse me. Obviously a little bit dusty. Held together by its own construction, which is like these bits that are going to sit on the sides. Let's have a look. Yeah, it actually does look like. So if you have a look at these, there's a cutout section here, which seems to match this bit of the road here. And so I think that that's actually going to hold that together. Well, probably with a bit of glue. And then there's going to be side bits as well. I might actually flip the whole thing upside down first to put these pieces on. Yeah, right. Okay. So that bit also fits there. And that appears to line up. I wonder if I can actually just build this thing with friction holding it together now to show you, and then I'll glue it in afterwards. I mean, we've got hours. I can probably end up gluing it together right here. All right, so there's this section. I don't know if you can see that. You can't see that. Oh, wait. Oh, okay. All right. So the ends of these have tabs sticking out of them. And this one here has cutouts, which implies that this is the one that goes in the middle here. Oh, I just knocked over my poor little brush holder cat. I love that sassy brush holder cat. It's the best. Okay, so this one goes in here, and these ones go in on these sides. Like so. and you can't see this. Let me just looking at my legs there, but this bit, as you can see there, is going to fit in like that. This tab is going to go into the notch there. My hopes that I could build this with just the friction holding it together, just to show you, are being dashed, because every time I attach a piece to it, another piece falls off on the other side from the movement. Okay, and this bit with all of the notches is, I assume, going to attach to all of them like that. So this bit goes on this end. Right. Okay. Now I'm going to attempt to flip this whole thing over and watch as it falls apart. Yep. I called it just before it happened that it was about to fall apart. But that's okay. I reckon this is actually too big for my desk to work on right now. But I think I don't know whether I want to start gluing it together now. I'm gonna at least sort of test fit all the parts. Alright. So that's all together now. It's... Hang on. Can I... No, we don't want to zoom in. Sadly, I can't zoom out any further on this, so that's where we're at. I'll just move stuff so that it's in view. Here's like the curb, and I like this that they've laser cut some cracks in the concrete so you can get it to look a particular level of worn. And I feel like once there's a bit of glue here, this is all going to hold together quite nicely. Okay, so we've got this like so. We've got curb and a bit of road. I get these... Wait, not that piece. Where's the other piece? It's going to be underneath. Yep. So I've got these two bits that are the corner pieces. Sorry you can't see this at the moment, but I'll show it to you in a second once I've got this together. It actually does kind of hold together with friction once I put all the pieces on it. Okay, so I'm gonna unattach my camera for a second. So that's kind of what it looks like. It's a board. It's got some depth to it. That looks like about 2 centimeters of depth. And it's got some pavement up here, some cracked pavement. It's got a road that has it's a T-junction road and some more curb here and curb there. So hopefully with that, I will be able to create a kind of a whatchamacallit, diorama to put my models on. So I'm gonna start with this, and I was thinking about using this other piece as a backdrop. Probably not in its entirety of a whole nother piece of this stuff, but I wanted it there to be a flat board that I can put the miniatures on, so that counts as the ground, but then a board that goes up the back that counts as the background. So whether I do it as like a night sky or something like that, then I'll get that going like that. I wonder if I should glue this together. I might as well. I've got 1.5 hours to play around with stuff. So I think, yeah, I was just saying, since there's space underneath, I can probably blue tech magnets. Yeah, you know what? Let's test that, because with this, we've got, you can kind of see the thickness there. Looks like 2.5 to 3 millimeter MDF, which might be too much for these magnets. So let me get them out. Where did I put them? All right. I knew I had them ready. They're nearby. Pro streamer things, getting things prepared. These rare earth magnets. So 4.75 millimeters by 1.5, 2 millimeter magnets. So I've already used a couple of them. As you can see, one of the stacks is shorter. But these are like, same kind of things they have in hard drives and stuff like that. Super, super strong magnets. In fact, they look like exactly the same magnets that were in this thing, which was the first thing that I opened. And they stick just like that to each other. They stick very well to each other. So, if I have magnets in the surface, they'll look like this. They'll just be there in the surface. And then I can attach these like so. Nicole, I didn't actually get these from Bunnings. I bought these from a modeling place. So this company is like a company that works on like tools for miniatures and stuff like that. So these are specifically for people magnetizing their gaming miniatures. Let me show you some of the miniatures. No, I was just getting it out of my case back here. Oh, I'll show you the case. One moment. I'm just putting it back in so I can show you the reveal. So this is my case, and it's got stickers from a whole bunch of different companies that do miniatures and stuff, and like famous painters and things like that. And so I've got this nice perspex window, and inside I've got my miniatures. Try not to reflect everything so you can actually see into the case. So yeah, there's my miniatures in there. So let me pop this open to show you. So pop the lid. I've actually got stuff like little bits of paper for the army list and stuff in there. In fact, this wallet thing will probably end up living in the top here. Alright, so I open the door, and out comes, on a little sliding tray, my tray of miniatures. This is, just put that there for a second while I close this up. I love this case. Really, really nifty case. Oh, you like the Minecraft wallpaper? Yeah, were you there? That was the, hang on. I'll show you. I, accidentally set my, my wallpaper to a random image the other day. And I was like, oh, I should set my wallpaper. And I was like, what images do I have? And I found that one. I was like, oh. So it's the cheeseburg. The day we made cheeseburg on Minecraft Socks server. And it was so funny because this mountain used to be a mountain. And I think it was like, we started making the sign for cheeseburg, and it's like, what are we going to do? Oh, we'll have to move the sign. And then I was like, no, we won't move the sign. Let's dig the mountain instead. And so you can see there where it was rock. We just carved, when I say we, I didn't do it. I was standing here watching and laughing while a bunch of people carved away the mountain so we could fit the cheeseburg sign in there. It was so funny. It was a great day. It was a lot of fun. Yeah. Okay. So back to here. Oh, actually, I don't know if I'll use the other camera to show you. So here is my my little army. It's not really an army because it's only like 12 miniatures. But the trick to this, which is great, is this thing that is blue tacked to the shelf that goes inside the storage case is like a $4 whiteboard that I got from Kmart because it actually sticks. So inside the bottom of these, as you can see there, is one of those magnets. So a couple of friends of mine who've done this kind of thing before were teaching me how to do it. And they were saying you can use different glues and stuff, but like a hot glue gun actually works pretty well because it fills the space in the hole there so that the magnet sits flush with the surface. If the magnet's really, really close to the surface, it's got the strongest hold. So on this bigger one, the motorbike, you can see I've put 2 magnets in there. There's space for what, 1, 2, 7 magnets there, but you would never need 7 of these magnets to hold that. 2 of them was fine for this because it's pretty lightweight. These are metal miniatures as well, so they even are heavier than normal miniatures, but like they're still not like they still don't have any trouble with just one magnet in each of most of them. So the test now, I'm going to grab one of these. I'll grab a small one to test with, not one that has a whole bunch of spikes hanging off it or anything like that. I'll put these down. Actually, no. I'm going to put them back in the case. I don't want to, like, accidentally drop them or something like that. This is like... Each one of these has been sort of like, I don't know, 10 hours, 10 to 15 hours worth of work in terms of, like, building and painting them, so I don't really want to accidentally drop the whole lot of them. So they're going to go back in the case where they'll be safe. And I'll have that one out there to test the magnets and see how they go. Okay, so back to the top camera. We have our mini with the magnet, and we attempt to stick it. We're at a polarity issue here. So because these are the same polarity, it's actually repelling there. So if I flip it upside down, it should stick to this side of them. Yeah, so that's stuck there very solidly. The magnet has just grabbed hold of the mini. So that's the idea that we're going to try to use to have these minis safely in their positions for display when I want to use this board to show them off. So it's a thing that often happens at like miniatures gaming tournaments and stuff, is you have like a kind of a painting competition. Sometimes you have a genuine painting competition. I've gone in those as well, where we put stuff up for competition, but sometimes we actually play games, and the same army, and on like a lunch break and stuff, everyone goes around and looks at them and they vote on which ones they like. So that's why I've got this road base here, and I'm going to paint it in the same black and white feel that these minis are, and then magnetize them onto this board. I was trying to figure out lots of different options for what I wanted to do here. One of them was to make this road section out of sheet metal, and then stick them to that, but I've got a lot of tools and stuff, like you can kind of see over here. I've got my tools and some marker pens and stuff like that. I can sand stuff. I've got drills. I've got a Dremel and things, but I really don't have anything that's going to be very useful for shaping wood. So, sorry, not shaping wood. I can shape wood. Because most of what I do is working with plastic, and wood and plastic, you can use roughly the same tools for a lot of it. But I have nothing for working with sheet metal. So I didn't know what I was going to do with metal. So I've opted for the idea that the MDF is the base. And I will, like, in order to attach the magnetized models to it, I will either embed magnets in the wood, or as who was it Halogen was saying, maybe we attach the magnets to the bottom of the wood and then see if they actually will stick or not. So I've got some blue tack over here. huge gob of blue tack. I'm not going to need all of that. But what we're going to do is we're going to stick some blue tack to the bottom of one of these pieces and see if it will hold the mini from the distance of looks like 2.5 to 3 millimeters, which is the thickness of the wood. So just grabbing the magnets out, grabbing one of them out from there, and I will just stick it to the mini first to make sure I've got the polarity correct. All right, so that's the correct polarity. As you can see, the magnet is stuck there. I'm gonna put that here, hold it on with a bit of blue tack, and see whether it actually holds from the other side. I'm actually not confident that this is going to hold from the other side because I don't think that these magnets, like, they're very strong magnets, but I don't think they're strong enough because, you know, like, it's a magnet is, it's not a form of radiation, but it's an energy that is kind of radiating out from the position. So the more distance you get away, what is it? It's like a square root of the amount of power that you get out of the magnet. So the further you get, like, it's you get far less attraction the further you get. Okay, that's stuck, but it does not fill me with confidence. So it is there, but not. Oh, okay. Do it on this camera. Hang on. It's upside down. It moved when I shook it then. I wonder if that's enough. It, like, yeah, the evidence of me shaking it and stuff, I really don't want to shake my nicely painted miniatures like that, right? I don't know if anyone recognizes this. Can you see that? No, I'll switch to the other camera. The other camera might be able to deal with the up close. Wait, move it further away and zoom it in. Still not doing that well, but this model is a not quite copyright infringement of the major from Ghost in the Shell. This company likes to do quotes like that and just make them slightly different so they can get away with it. But, you know, like, I've been moving this thing around. Yeah, you picked it up. Yeah, Ghost in the Shell, yeah. It's possible that I could get away with putting a magnet on the bottom like that. I only say possible because it's... Yeah, because I painted it my own color scheme, so it's not really gonna look completely Ghost in the Shell. So yeah, it's... Oh, there you go. So I'll put in chippity paint there. It's not quite good enough. So there are other things that I can do. Let's put that aside for the moment. Get our magnet back and put it in the pile with the others. So I'm going to take this road construction piece and just put it aside for now. Actually, I've got this. These are the pieces you can use to hold two of these together. So, I don't know if you see there's a notch in the sides. These little pieces come up from below into that notch, and then you can put multiple of these boards together to make like a gaming table out of it. So this is like a, you know, I think it's 30 by 30 centimeters. Actually measure that. Yeah, it's nearly exactly 30. It's just over 30 centimeters. You can attach multiple of these boards together to make like a gaming table. which I think would be a lot of fun. But this one I'm going to use my diorama, so it's kind of going to get butchered, and it won't be usable for a game table. But what I'm going to try to do, considering I probably won't use these notches, or maybe I should grab a different piece of MDF. I've got some other pieces lying around. I have prepared for this, so let me show you what I have prepared for this situation. So here's this is my El Cheapo Dremel that I got from Aldi. But, you know, it'll do the job. So it's a device that just spins a thing. It's not that different from a just a drill, but it's made so that you can, like, it doesn't spin as fast, it's not as heavy, so you can handhold it and use it for crafty things. So I think a lot of people have probably seen Dremels before if you've been doing crafts and stuff. So I recently bought this. Not too many pieces at once. Let's brush back in. I bought this bit for the Dremel. So I don't know how clearly you can see that. Let's hold it over the white section. But it's a router bit. So it's designed so that it can dig straight down. I'll show it here. So, for example, I'll just put it loosely in the Dremel itself. Oh, hang on. I have to press the button to tighten it. So, it is able to bore a hole into the surface and leave that reasonably flat. Zero, I think it's just steel. I think I threw away the packaging, so I don't know what material this is. I had no intention of using this on other metals, so I didn't really think about what the tip was. I was like, I'm going to be carving MDF or plastic with this, so I didn't even think about whether I would whether I'd need to be careful with what type of bit I was using. It's definitely not diamond tipped. I was not splashing out. This is just like a random purchase from Bunnings. Yeah, so I think what I can do to make that magnet join stronger is to Dremel into the wood. So either I Dremel all the way through and glue the magnet in, but I don't really want to Dremel all the way through. What I think I would want to do is Dremel halfway into this, so there's still a bit of wood there to hold the magnet in place. So whether I drill from the top so that the magnet sits flush with the top surface, or I drill in from below so that the magnet is stronger, but the top surface is completely kind of like not visible, in a sense, like you won't know that there are magnets in there. So I'd have to make that choice. I think that if this person is standing on top of the magnet, it's still kind of like reality has already been broken by the fact that there's 5 millimeters worth of base here that's colored red as well. Hey, Solux, how's it going? So I don't mind too much if there are magnets showing. The models will cover the magnets, and the models don't even entirely match up with the concrete that's on the that's going to be on the road surface anyway. So it's not a super simulation perfect diorama or anything like that. It's more of a like set the scene and then put the models on it. Halogen's saying stacking magnets can result in higher overall strength if I'm willing to use extra. But what if I run out? His pack's got 100 in it. Considering at the moment I'm putting 12 models there. And I'm probably going to be putting more than that, but not enough to even remotely run out here. So if I've got, say, 15 models, some of them have 2 magnets, that's 20. And I'll use a double stack under each of them to stick them on. That's 60 out of my 100, so I'll have plenty spare if I do that. So let's try this double stack here and see if it's stronger. So I was just attach it to make sure my polarity is correct. And then I'll just use this offcut here. Well, not offcut, bit that I'm not using. I'll blue tack these on and see if that gets me a stronger hold. Because if it does, that might be the nicest thing, because then if all of the positions that the miniatures are in are just blue tacked to the bottom, then I can move things around if I want to change the way the diorama looks. Okay, so there's a double stack. It's sticking pretty happily to the double stack. Oh, maybe not. I just shook it and it launched itself off. I guess the question is, how strong do I need this to be? If I'm transporting this whole diorama in the car or on a train or something like that, then how strong do I want that hold to be? I think I need it reasonably strong to account for bumping and things. Like, this is moving around pretty easily. So what have we got here? Halogen saying, once the length of the magnet exceeds the diameter of the magnet is working at an optimal level, and further additions to magnet length will provide only small increases in performance. Okay, so this is a 4.75 millimeter magnet, and it looks to be about like less than 2 millimeters thick. So we could go for a triple stack here, and that'll be the strongest that we can possibly get this. We could go for a triple stack, and then we can launch it out of my own hands and onto the floor here somewhere. Oh, there it is. I didn't feel that much strength difference with the 2 versus the 1. Although, sticking it to the model and trying to pull it off, that actually feels quite strong there. In fact, it may have just yanked it out of the bottom of the Mini. So, let's try this triple stack. And I think with the little maths that I did with the magnets there, I think I do have enough to do the diorama like this if I wanted to. I mean, the blue tack doesn't even have to stick it that well, because this is going to hold itself on. Halogen saying you're curious to see how strong it could go rather than as a practical solution. Yeah, and Zero just once bought 2 magnets, had a 10 kilogram pull force. They're about 25 by 25 by 10 mils. That's a huge magnet, actually. Stuck together and took you over an hour to pull it apart. Yeah, I've heard of like some really, really serious magnets, like the ones that go into electric motors and stuff like that. And then like you have to be really careful handling them, because they can actually like crush your fingers and stuff like that if you're hanging around. If they actually get out of control, like mine did just then, they just launch themselves out of my hand, right? And these are tiny and these are safe in a sense. It took you an hour to pull them apart. I think you need tools to like grab them and pull them apart. Hey Olivia, how's it going? Dropping by to say hi. Hello, how's it going? Hope your cramming's going well. Here's Warc to say hi as well. Warc on Wednesdays. Ah, it's Warc because it's upside down. Get it? WM. Anyway, yeah, you know. Okay. What's Nicole saying? Need a really strong magnet to help you find your earrings. Oh yeah, totally. I feel like that. It's always like when you drop little things like that on the carpet, it's always a magnet, or getting a torch at carpet or floor level and shine across the floor and see if it reflects off anything. Okay, so the triple stack is a little bit stronger. Like I can actually feel this grabbing on. I don't want to shake this too much because I keep dropping it. Okay, it still drops off on the shake. So there's still a mild issue there with that. I think that if I disposable income, you spend $200 to get a magnet with 100 kilograms pull force. I think if I did 100 kilograms pull force, I would end up at least partially obliterating the MDF that I'm mounting these things to. I think that maybe I should be using the simple way of thinking about this, and proximity is the issue. The issue is the 3mm gap between them. So I reckon if I bore a hole into this not all the way through, I may be able to mount my magnets in the bottom of the wood and have them strong enough to hold something above, while the entire top surface of the wood is unmarred and retains its prettiness and its charm for the diorama. Zara saying your magnets ended up breaking because they're about 20 centimeters apart and flew to each other and the force cracked them. Yeah, that's some serious magnets you've got there. Okay, so let's try. I don't know if I want to use this piece because this piece has already been laser cut, or another piece of MDF that I've got lying around. Just getting my tools. So I got a little box of bases here, sorted miniature bases from different companies. These are resin ones here that I think that unopened packet of pre-dirted resin bases in a sense. And I've got some. I don't know if you can see that. Let me get these out of the packet. Sort of desert sands kind of bases. These look pretty cool. I used to have an army that was like themed like that, but I haven't used it in ages. I think that's the last one left of that particular kind. But what I was actually going there for is these MDF bases, which I don't tend to use that much, but pretty sure they're the same thickness as the MDF that my diorama is made of. So I've put those together. Yeah. So trying out the Dremel on one of these should give me some information. This one's got too many cuts in it, so it's really hard to figure out where I'm going to Dremel that without just breaking it because of the force on it. Whereas this is just a flat piece, so I can try this. Other question for myself is how am I going to secure a round thing and then use a rotary tool on it? That's something I'll think about in a second. What are people saying here? Halogen clearly just means you have more magnets, assuming they cracked into pieces. Oh, right. You didn't lose your magnet. You actually generated extra magnets. I just dropped something in here, but that's right. I'll deal with that later. Okay. I actually might put my mini back in the case. Because if I'm about to generate MDF dust, probably don't want it getting on the mini. I wonder if this is the point where we lose Chicken when I start using spinny tools. She's not usually a fan of like you just get the vacuum cleaner out. She's like, no, I'm out of here. I know what you're doing. Just plugging in the Dremel. Okay, so things to think about here. How do we, let's put this back here, how do we make sure that this thing doesn't get grabbed by the router bit and spin itself out of position, launch itself off my desk somewhere and like cause a bit of a hassle? So that's question one. And the answer I think to that is going to be use a big base like this and blue tack this thing down. Like, you'd be surprised actually, especially against shear forces, like so sliding forces and stuff like that, how strong blue tack can be. Okay, so I grabbed a couple of pieces and I'm just gonna blue tack this thing down like this. It's actually going to have a lot of trouble getting away so long as I'm holding this. I mean, I doubt that my Dremel's strong enough to pick up the whole thing. If I was using a power drill or something, then it probably would. So I've got that. The other thing that I need to think about is this tool, just handheld like this, has a distinct chance of drilling all the way through the piece of wood. So I need to make sure that this is not going to go all the way through. And I'm going to do that with an old trick that we used to use on like router bits and drills and stuff like that, is you actually tape it. So I'm going to tape the router bit here so that I can see how far in it's gone and it stops at a certain point. So I've got some masking tape here. And if I tape this bit up until... I don't know how far in I need to go, really. Actually, just use another loose piece here. Think about how far in I want this to go, because the further I go in, the more I risk drilling all the way through, and the less I go in, the less effect the magnet's going to have. So I think I'll start conservative and only go in halfway. So that's about 1.5 millimeters in. So what I will do is I'll tape up the rest of this bit so that I can see exactly how far in it's gone. And the tape will actually probably stop it from going further as I'm doing the routing in. So I don't need... Oh, wow. This masking tape is not sticky. I wonder how long it's been on my desk. It might still work. It might still work. Okay. It's longer than the bit at the moment, so I'll just tear it in half. All I want is the straight edge on it. But about there. So I'm taping up the bit. And the more tape that I put on, the more obvious it's going to be to me that I've hit the point where it shouldn't go in any further. So most of the bit is taped up. That's actually a little bit... I don't know how much is actually going to get routed out by that. That's only going to be like 1 mil or just over a mil out of the width of it. But let's try that. So I'm going to plug in the power here. I don't actually have a battery operated Dremel. You can probably hear that. So this is now spinning, and I will try to carve my first hole into one of these. I couldn't exactly tell, because I didn't put my head right down next to it, whether I was going past the masking tape or not. But I now have... This is like one of my most used tools. A hole cut a certain depth into this little piece of MDF, which should be roughly, but not exactly, but I know it's close to, because I think this is a 5 mil bit, and these are 4.75 mil magnets. So once I clean the sawdust out of here, I should be able to fit a magnet into that hole. I mean, I also probably... I mean, if I was doing a lot more MDF, I would probably wear one of these. Oh, I'll put it here. Like a face mask and some safety goggles and stuff like that. But like, it's also like, this is like very, very tiny craft size stuff. So there's not really going to be that much dust. Like those of you who've worked, I know a couple of you here did stuff in review where you do carpentry and stuff like that on large pieces of MDF. I'm like, be more careful there. Like, definitely, you don't want to breathe this stuff in. Okay, so the magnet's sitting in there. It's not actually flush with the surface here, which means if I look at this, if it's not flush with the surface, it's not that deep in. So it's not even going halfway in yet, which means I might actually try going a little bit further. Wait, wrong button. Okay. The the tape is now superfluous because I've now gone further in than the tape was on the bit, so I might actually take that off. I'll have to tape it up again at the exact height that I want to be at. But actually, it's going in slow enough that I can control it even without the tape. So the tape is an old trick that I was using when we were using drills, and drills will like suck themselves into a piece of wood if you put too much pressure on it. Whereas the Dremel with the router bit is actually giving me heaps of control, so I can take it slow and steady to get in there. So I'm a little bit playing blackjack with this right now. If I keep going, I can punch through the wood. Once I punch through the wood, it'll be a huge hassle to glue the magnet in properly. The closer I get to punching through the wood without actually getting all the way through, the better the magnet's join is going to be from the other side. So like I'm kind of back and forth on that like that. Halogen ripped it to the blue tack. Yes, this bit of blue tack is now sawdust blue tack, so it'll never be as strong as it was originally. But you know, I got this huge chunk of it for doing stuff, and so it's a worthy tool for what I'm working with right now. Yeah, and as you're saying, it doesn't need to be flush because it's the underside. Unless I want it to be the top side, but I think that's I want to see if this works on the underside because the underside might make this just look a lot nicer. So that anytime I take my models off the diorama, I don't get a sudden and obvious immersion breaking thing of being able to see the magnet. Oh, this will tell me as well because these grooves are carved in. So I will actually, depending on where I'm drilling, I didn't actually check where I was dremeling in. This will tell me when I get close to the surface because I'll see a hole open up on part of this MDF. You're off, Halogen. Thanks for coming along, and thank you for the good luck. So let's now. I should probably have. You know how I kept having to check which side the magnet was? Like, there's an easier solution to that. Is usually just drawing on the magnet on which side is the positive or the negative. All right, got my model back. This one again, our Ghost in the Shell Major. Okay, stuck the magnet to figure out which one it is, and then I will put a little mark on this. I don't actually know whether that's negative or positive. I just drew a line on it. So I know that the drawn on direction aims towards the miniature. So we'll put this in here. Use some of this sacrificed blue tack to hold it on. All right, so the magnet is snug and secure in its position there, and I'll attach the mini to the top of it. It can still move a little, but this is feeling way more secure than before. So I think that proximity is one of the keys more than the number of magnets was. So I think we actually got more power out of the distance with a single magnet than I got out of stacking 3, because stacking 3 felt pretty insecure. This is still moving when I shake it, and knowing that currently the magnet is still sticking out from the surface, it's still not entirely flush with the surface, means I know that I can get further into this piece of MDF. So let's do that. Let's get a little further into that piece of MDF. Go back to my blue tack here and get just a little bit deeper with this hole. Hang on. I'm going to move my Mini out of the way so I don't get sawdust on it. I'm pretty precious with my painted bits. My painted bits are very precious. The other bits, obviously, it's like while I'm carving it up, it's like, oh no, this is happening. I don't know how deep to go. It's hard to measure. I'm just sort of eyeballing it. But I've gotten a little bit deeper there. Let's chuck the magnet in and see how flush it is with the surface now. Okay, now it's no longer flush with the surface. Now it's inset in the surface. I can't get it back out now. But it's only just. And it being only just means I reckon I can go a little bit further. I do like this bit though. I'm getting a perfect kind of cylindrical plunge into this. And this is actually technically a plunge router bit. So if you had the kit for the Dremel, you could actually get this in a plastic kit that sits and makes it perfectly vertical, and then you can wind it down a specific amount. Actually, it would be like this. You can wind it so it drops a specific amount into a flat surface. I don't really need that level of detail because I'm only trying to get a magnet somewhere in there, you know. Zara saying maybe put the Dremel next to the wood and then you can mark with the maximum depth. Yeah, I definitely can do that. So there I can, with my marker pen again, draw on this exactly. You can't see it because I'm aiming it at my face rather than the camera, but I can probably put a mark on this that says don't go any further than this. So about there. Yeah, that was what I was doing with the masking tape before. But that was a little bit. The positioning was a little bit conservative with the masking tape, actually. Yeah, so I've just drawn on it with my pen there how far I can go into that bit of wood. Now let's grab this piece off for a second and have a look at how far it's gone. Yeah, that's nearly perfect. I don't know how well you can see that on the camera. Wait, where's its focus? There. Yeah. So the mark that I've done is touching the wood there, so I probably shouldn't go any further. So let's chuck that magnet in. Let me just clean out a bit of the sawdust. I also don't know if this thing digs a cylindrical hole or the hole inside is actually like, you know, the bottom of the hole is actually sort of curved a bit. I'm not sure, and I can't see it that clearly. But clean a bit of the sawdust out of there. Put that magnet in. Just use the blue tack to secure it because I'm not gluing it yet. Probably end up using some reasonably serious, doesn't actually have to be super serious glue to hold this in place because the magnetism itself is going to hold it in place. But that's now stuck there. And that's feeling like a pretty strong hold there. It's passing the shake test. I'm shaking it quite vigorously here. That feels like it. That feels like the solution. So I've got my Dremel bit marked out for that. And I'll know if there's a problem, because if this ink ever gets rubbed off the side of the Dremel bit, then I'll know I've gone in too far. Apart from the fact that I'll probably notice when I punch through the MDF. That'll be a problem for the next time I talk to you, when I start dremeling the actual pieces. So that looks pretty good. So magnet there, magnet inside here. There's the magnet still stuck to the blue tack. Dremeling in just a little bit there. The top surface is beautifully unmarred, happy to be painted nicely, so that it will look like that kind of road surface or whatever I want to do with it. And it's going to hold my models in place, which is cool. I'm pretty happy with that. This is a good experiment. In fact, if I was going to use these wooden bases for things, I would be doing the same thing by dremeling out a section there, and then gluing in the magnet there for use with the miniatures. Although most of these miniatures are actually on resin bases rather than wood. So it's plastic on the bottom, the black plastic, but the top half is actually that grey resin that I had in the other ones. These are molded into these kind of urban concrete kind of scenes. Okay, that's good. I'm happy with that. That experiment came out okay. So now I know that. Just put this masking tape away. Don't need that right now. I know how the magnets are going to work. It's like magnets. How do they work? That joke just doesn't work anymore, does it? That's like a meme from an older generation. Okay. So, where am I going now? I know how I'm going to place my magnets. I know that now I only need one of these per miniature. Or two when the miniature has two, like that motorbike did. Now would be a matter of looking at the diorama itself. Back over here. Just putting stuff on the floor now. And deciding where the miniatures are going to go on this diorama. So I can't quite do that yet because I actually have some buildings that I'm going to put on this. But a lot of them are going to end up on this road surface here because there's no space anywhere else for them. But yeah, they'll be in positions here, and then I'll Dremel up from the bottom, glue some magnets in place, and then have a nice kind of display board for these. Zero's asking, am I going to paint the road? Yeah, so this whole surface here is going to get painted. So similarly to how these were painted, they'll get sprayed first in a neutral grey kind of paint. Probably this. This is like my the stuff that I use for my models. So I actually could probably do this in a cheaper paint, or I'll probably start it with a cheaper paint because MDF drinks paint. Like, I don't know if anyone's worked with MDF before, but like first couple of layers feel like they disappear into the wood. So I'll probably prime it up with some of my cheaper, like whatchamacallit, like hardware store paints, and then don't go to the more expensive specific color modeling paints until I get further into it. I assume that this road surface I will make it dark kind of color, and then I'll do some texturing on it to get it to look like it's concretey. Also, I will paint maybe some dotted lines or a crossing here or something like that, so that it would it'll have that kind of nice feel, and it'll sort of sync up with the color that you see on the bases of these minis, which is like that kind of road grey kind of color. Are you going to paint the road? From the moment I understood the weakness of my flesh, it disgusted me. Yes. We are all in pain. Okay, so yeah, so that's where I'm going with that. I have a feeling that I don't know how much you can really see from the camera there, because you're seeing the top-down view of this and just like a flat surface there. But if I pull this further out, you kind of see what I'm working with. There is this board, which I just broke again. That's okay. I'll glue it together, and then the minis will go on it. So the decision I have to make now, I think, is whether I construct this whole thing, then flip it over and Dremel out pieces for the magnets, with it all in one piece, or whether I figure out exactly where the models are going to be on this, mark out the positions, then take the whole thing apart again, Dremel it, and then paint it afterwards. I think the good thing about the idea that I'm dremeling from below is I could have the positions Dremel in a whole bunch of magnets, and then want to change things later and still be able to flip this thing over and easily access the points where magnets could be in it. So it's nearly like, yeah, I could actually just glue this thing together and do it, but it feels like just putting the mini back in the case. It feels like it's going to be much easier to do the dremeling on. Just going to pull this off. Yeah, on these pieces when they're separate before they have these sidewalls on, because once the sidewall's on, it's, fully upside down is possible, but it's just a little bit more fiddly. Whereas this thing, I can just blue tack to my board there and Dremel out some positions. The trick then, I think, in this is going to be me having this thing partially built like it is now, and the buildings that are going on it, and then deciding how they're going to how I'm going to place my models, because that's all the kind of, I don't know what you'd call it, like the visual design of this is going to be based on where these models go. So it's pretty simple at the moment on my little white, because there's literally nothing there. So they're just plonked on it wherever. I mean, they're not entirely plonked. There's a little bit of thinking about where these things go, just because I put the bigger ones in the middle. But otherwise, they're actually together in their kind of unit affiliations kind of stuff there as well. But it's not really in any specific order, nor is it in any kind of permanence, because on the whiteboard you can just shift them around anywhere. Whereas on this thing, they're going to be really, really fixed in place based on where I Dremel in the magnets. So I guess that will be the thing, is I have to wait for another delivery to get some buildings. So I was getting some verticality on this, probably on the pavement section in the flat area. Putting them away. So I consider this section here to be the front. That's what I'm going to use as the front section. This is the back section. So I've got some buildings that are I'm basically going to get these buildings and chop the back off them and put just the front facade of the building along here. And then maybe, depending on how much top surface there is on the roof of that building, I might actually put magnets up there to put models up there so there's some height. But I can't necessarily plan where that stuff's going to go until I see how big these buildings are and how much of them fit on this board. I do have this little tractor console thing. It's going to have these laser cut acrylic bits attached, like here. Bring this back down so you can see it. And here. And this is actually, I don't know if you can read that. It says Novacore, which is the name of the tournament that I got this from in Newcastle. And the tournament was meant to be an annual thing, started in 2019. And as you can guess from annual things that started in 2019, it still hasn't happened again. But this is the one that's happening in June that I'm preparing all of this for. So I was thinking of getting this little computer thing, talking about computers like they're people again, and putting it on this thing somewhere, probably on the curb here. And so it'll be like a little sign, a little remembrance of of the previous time this tournament ran, which was like 3 years ago. Yeah. So this is good. I wonder if I should actually at least put the models on this and see how much space they take up. Because I think that for the moment, it's pretty big for the models. But that'll change because I do have a few more that I want to paint. Dropping them already. Let's zoom this back out so you can see what I'm doing. So I've got the two red hats over there. They're actually like thematically a group. Put the motorbike front and center because she might as well be like riding on the road there. This is like a big samurai robot thing with swords, so it goes in the middle back of the diorama. So there's a fair bit of like, you know, um, what I would consider composition going on here. If you recognize the Ghost in the Shell reference, no, it's not going to focus on it. Anyway, this other one's Batu. Put them there. It's actually not bad. They're kind of filling the space. I'll put this thing over here. There is room for more. I was probably going to take this bike and do at least one more of these bikes, and so I can have the bikes kind of taking a path across the road and move some of these around. Depending on how much space the buildings take up back there, that's going to account for this sort of open gap here. So maybe I will actually move these two into the center here. Actually, it doesn't look too bad. There is definitely some open space like here and here. There's open space there that you just off camera. So I think I'm pretty happy. This is the right. This feels like the correct size of base to make this look like a cool kind of diorama thing to show off the army in a in what they would call like an armies on parade. They call like that's like the term they often use for this kind of thing. Um, so I think it's going to look pretty good. I do need to decide whether this other piece that I've gotten goes on as a backdrop or not. So whether it goes on the back behind these and how I actually put that together. I mean, it might work. It's very high because it's the same size plate as this, but I could always get the jigsaw out and just like cut this to maybe 2/3 of its height or less, depending on how tall the buildings are, and use this as a backdrop. Hard to decide. Not sure. I'll figure it out later. But yeah, that's pretty cool. I don't think I'll drill any magnet holes. Oh, I love this cat hair on this already. I won't drill any magnet holes out of it yet because I think I want to wait and see A, how big the buildings are going to be on this thing, and B, um, how many more models I'm going to paint for this army before I start using it. Cool. All right, I should put these back on their whiteboard and in their storage case. Oh, I just bumped it as I was picking up one of the models. Oh, that would be awkward. Although they're magnetized, so hopefully they would just stick and stay there. Alright, there you go. Everyone's back on board. I wonder. Let's away. Let's board aside for the moment. I wonder what else we shall do today. Because that was just the stuff that I was getting out there to look at, make some plans with, do some experiments with the Dremel. So that's all ready to go. I do. What are we at? 9:30. Don't have like a huge amount of time to play around with things, but I do actually have two here that I've primed and haven't started painting yet. Chewy just ordered Uber Eats. That's a late dinner. Hey Dongshu, how's it going? So I wonder about. Oh, that's very, very bright. I just turned my hobby lamp on because I didn't actually have it on before. I wonder about throwing some paint on one of these. Okay, this one I've already started a little bit. So when I'm doing that black and white style, actually, you know what? I will be right back. I'm just going to get rid of this sawdust because even though there's so little of it, just the tiniest bit of sawdust on miniatures, like you will actually see it if I paint over it by accident. So I'm just going to get this stuff off my table first. Just throw it in the bin, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. Oh wait, let me get one of the minis. Or is it Coles Meals of Oh my god. We're talking about what people ordered. Chewy got dumplings. John Cena's eating frozen meals from Coles. Oh, you got some piggy buns. They're cute. Looky here, Mr. Billionaire, able to afford Uber Eats. You're having a McCain Big Boy veal parma. I actually, for a very long time, like one of my favorite meals was like the frozen lasagnas. Like I would like be more than happy to like get a frozen lasagna, chuck it in the microwave and in the oven, and then like happily have that for dinner. I guess nowadays with like the whole full-time work salary thing, I'm like, I can order a lasagna from a restaurant instead. Yeah, let me just get one of these models to show you. I know I just put them away, and I keep going back and forth with these. But here is one of them. So I'm playing with fire here, trying to get the focus to. No, it's not going to. It's alright. So what I do with these is I like to do them with a lighting thing. So you can see that's actually kind of dark on the back. And as I turn it around the side, you'll see that as I get to a different direction, it's a lot brighter. So this one's obviously lit from this direction, which is nice because it's the front. Most of them are lit from somewhere along the front. And then you can see from side on here, there's a lot of shadow, and it gets darker to like a full dark grey on the back. So the dark grey is not actually that much different from the grey that the model's primed. But the finished model's got this nice black outlining on everything that gives it that comic book style kind of black lined look. Also, the red allows me to draw people's attention to certain things. The focal point, a lot of the time, on models like these tries to be on the face. So the face is reasonably bright, and then the two red bits on either side kind of lead you towards focusing on that part of the model. That's the intention with the sort of composition that I try to do with the colors, because if you're going to do black and white and one bold color like the red, it's got to be quite specific. It's either got to be framing or composition, in a sense. I mean, framing is composition in a way. So across the bottom on the base rim is just like, it's like putting a really nice frame on a painting. And then the bits that are in it, so his eyes are red. He's got bionic eyes and they're red. And then the stripes on the weapon and the gun and the hand are just to keep your attention up in that kind of central area. I haven't yet decided how this one is going to get its red, but this one's wearing a helmet, so I think that's something red on the helmet, definitely. And then maybe I will follow the natural lines of the model and paint part of the gun red. So it goes from the helmet, the view will start on the helmet and then go down the gun. It's like a lot of the decisions we make when we're painting are about that kind of composition. Like where does your viewer's attention go? All right, let me get some of my painting tools out. You can't quite see them, but there, my little brush holder cat. But more importantly, it's just a piece of tissue paper and my water pot, which is an old cup. As you can see, you would not want to be drinking anything out of this. Let's try not to make that reflect. Yeah, there's years of old paint that's sunk to the bottom there. But it's going to be pretty simple what I'm doing here, because I'm just working with grays for the moment. I very, very much doubt that I will finish this tonight. Forbidden hot chocolate. Yeah, that's a bad hot chocolate to be getting into. This is one of the tools I use a lot. Yeah, it's a wet palette. So, open this up. It's plastic, but inside is a sponge. More cat hair. There's always cat hair. Wait, this is my hair. Anyway. This is a kind of a parchment paper, so it's a semi-porous paper, not quite as porous as normal paper would be, and underneath is actually just like a kitchen sponge kind of thing. It's thinner than that. You know those thin, more like wipey sponges? There's one of them underneath. And so when I touch this paper, it's actually damp. Well, you can kind of see it when I pressed on it there. You can kind of see that it's wet. Yeah, so it's slightly damp, and it's nice because it keeps a little bit of moisture in the paint. So some of these paints, which I haven't touched for, I don't know, I can't remember how many days it's been since I last painted. Some of them are still a little bit damp. Like they're still actually a bit, you could maybe use them. I probably wouldn't, but they're still like, they're not completely dry. And that's the benefit of the wet palette, especially living somewhere like Australia. Is what is going on there, John Cena? I don't even know what you're talking about, but that's cool. I lick my brushes sometimes. Probably not the best thing to do, but it keeps them on a really nice tip, and it keeps them kind of moist, because you don't want your brushes to go fully dry because then the paint dries on them and stuff. But if they're always a little bit wet and the paint doesn't dry in the bristles, and they keep in good working order. So I've got, at the moment, this whole model is coated in a color that is very similar to this Mechanicus Standard Grey. They call it. They've got some funny names for some of these paints. So I don't need to work with this one, but I'm going to go one shade up, which is this mid-grey here. And then I'm going to go to this light grey. So I've got the two pots there. The first thing that I need to do is I need to decide where the light is coming from. So I could, like a lot of my models, have the light coming from the front. So this is the way it's facing, but I think I can get a nice dramatic effect by making the light come from here, which is actually an angle that you would kind of view the model on. But then when you look at it from the front, we should get this kind of brightness from this side and less like kind of dark colors coming from that angle, and we should get a cool kind of look. So what I will probably do is I'll aim the model at myself like this, and I'll paint most of these surfaces the lighter grays. I'll probably put some on this side as well where I think that the light would hit it. But it's going to get really bright on this side, but stay pretty dark on this side, in the same way that this model ended up getting pretty bright from like kind of this angle. And then from this angle here, there's nearly no highlighting at all. It's all quite dark. So you can see that like what I try to do is try to get this dramatic lighting effect on the models. A lot of people will do this with the model from the top down, because you'll just get like a decently understandably looking model if it's bright from the top and a dark from below, right? So it's like the model standing somewhere in daylight. But because I'm doing this kind of Sin City feel, I'm quite happy to have things lit from random directions as if there were like street lights and things like that. I stopped short of buying a bunch of things like street lamps and dumpsters and all this kind of stuff to put on that diorama, because I figured the diorama is partially abstract. It didn't actually have to have that feel. So just getting some paint out here. The paint's pretty thick and goopy because it's old. So I'm gonna have to. I just went to the water pot there. Mix it with some water on the palette to make sure that it actually flows when I'm painting. So I don't like it goopy, because if the paint's goopy on when it goes on the model, like this thing is like what? How big? Let me. 3.5 centimeters tall, roughly. A little bit taller than that, but yeah, 3.5 centimeters ish, including the base, tall. So if I use even remotely thick paint, so if I let the paint dry a bit before it goes on, I may end up in the situation where I just obliterate the details in the model because it's quite tiny. So what I want is my paint to be pretty watery, and you can see how the paint's not even changing the shape of the brush. That's how liquid the paint is. It's just sitting kind of in between the bristles. And then I'm going to go, okay, this is my light direction. I'm going to start putting this over most of the model in this direction. So you can see me starting from the bits that are really obviously going to catch the light. So I've started by putting the paint on the big armor panels and stuff. Dodo is asking if watercolor works well on these models. I've never used watercolor on these models, just acrylics. But I actually have a friend who has been doing some watercolor experiments, and she's actually gotten some quite good results out of that. She's just not sure how well they're going to dry and stick. Because watercolors tend to expect themselves to be able to soak into a surface. You know, that's how we usually use watercolors. We use watercolors on paper, sometimes on canvas and stuff like that as well. But most often, watercolors get used in a situation where where they can soak into the surface, not like this where it's metal and then primer paint. So in this situation, we're really sitting on top of the surface, and the acrylic kind of forms itself into, like, it nearly dries into plastic. It's not quite, but sort of. And so it's much easier to paint acrylics on hard surfaces like this. But I could definitely see uses for watercolors, because you could get some cool kind of blending between colors with watercolors like that. Hydro dipping. I don't know hydro dipping, but I assume that's like if we dipped this model in some kind of paint solution and then that would allow the paint to like run into all the crevices and things and do some interesting things. I think you could do that. You would potentially sacrifice a lot of control you had over it, because you can see I'm being quite specific here. So I'm not even painting the whole model from this direction. You can see that I'm focusing on the bits that stick out more, which is just a technique to simulate ambient lighting. This is all blending into graphics. If you've taken graphics with me, is like ambient occlusion is the idea that light doesn't bounce around as much in the crevices of an object, which is why I'm doing these big armor panels. They're getting the gray, but the undersuit, this kind of mesh undersuit, is not getting very much of it, and we'll probably get much more of the dark color once I go into like the black lining. Yeah, so hydro dipping, you get cool patterns out of it, and it's zero effort. I wonder if that's like acrylic pouring, where you don't get to control what the image looks like, but you allow the paint mix to flow on the surface, and then you take whatever you get out of it. So there's this kind of joy in getting to see what you've created, even if it wasn't exactly your intention. You get some really cool stuff though out of, like, as you say, zero effort solutions. Some of them are really cool because some of them you learn something from it. It's also like when they get those things where like an AI does art in the style of a particular famous artist or something like that. You might actually discover something out of that you weren't expecting. This, however, is not a zero effort solution. I'm putting a lot of effort into trying to get this thing to look like it's lit from this direction. I mean, you can already see the difference. And this is just early stages yet. Like, as you can see on the other model, I went all the way up to white. But it's not just, I'm not just spamming the paint on, I'm trying to catch particular edges and the directional lighting on this. Not having to put, like, I'm not being super specific with the details though. As you can see, I'm picking some places to get light and being careful, and other times I'm just kind of going all out. Because I know that if I don't, like paint between the lines perfectly here, it doesn't matter, because later on I'm going to go with brighter colors and I'll be more careful where the brighter colors end up. And also, the last step that I usually do with this paint style is after I've done like the grays and the white, I'll go back in with a pure black. This stuff. The ink, acrylic ink, with a tiny, tiny brush, and I will draw lines everywhere to separate all the pieces and give it that kind of look like it was drawn with a pen in a comic. Have I done much painting before on stream? I feel like I did once. I did some Space Marines, right? I guess it's just a different style, what I'm doing right now. So now that I've kind of covered everything that goes from this specific direction, I'll decide how much I want the light to bleed onto other parts. So I might actually allow this gun to get a bit of lighting. And also the face here. I haven't fully decided what's going to be red on the face. I'm thinking just this eye plate in the middle. And so with that, I may end up bringing that all the way to white so that the red shows up nicely on it. Because the reds are just going to go over the top of everything. So on the back here that is kind of in the darkness, in a sense, I may still put some of this grey on it. So when we think about where I'm going with this is the colour I'm doing now. Then we're going to go to this, and then we're going to use this white over here. So this is actually quite dark. So I can still use this on the side that I consider to be in the darkness as the kind of highlights. Just because it's cooler to have things still have a bit of shape, even if you consider them to be in darkness. So, in the same way that something under moonlight still glints and reflects off its like hard surfaces, so we don't abandon them entirely in this paint pass. But when I'm doing the pure white, I would definitely abandon this side, right? The pure white only goes on the officially lit side. So now I'm being a bit more sparse with this grey and just catching the edges of things and the tops of things. I don't know how well you can see it on the feed at the moment. I don't know how good the focus is there. It looks okay, I guess. I don't have like a super amazing camera. It's actually my phone blue tacked to the light, as I think you may have seen in previous crafty streams that I did. Just catching a bit of the fabric here so that it looks like it has some texture. Do I do larger models, and what's the biggest model I've done? I have done some larger models. I think the biggest thing I ever did was a Hulk. If you're on my Discord, you'll have seen the Hulk because it's my profile pic. I don't think. No, it's not in this cabinet here. It's in my display cabinet out in the lounge room. So I can't really get it for you right now. But I will send you links to it later on the Discord. Oh, you have seen my profile pic, yep. So that Hulk is, I think, about 10 centimeters tall. So it's pretty big compared to this thing. So it would be this entire block that I'm using so that I can hold this. It would be as tall as that entire thing. It's a bit easier to work with models of that size in terms of like how you do the details and how well you can see them. Because I mean, this model at the moment, if you're watching this on your monitor, you can actually see more of it than I can because it's probably bigger on your screen than it is in person where I am. So it's quite funny sometimes I take photos of my models and then I look at the photo and go, oh, it looks like shit. You know, like, because only when you can see it zoomed in can you see any of the mistakes that you've made on it. But I think we have to let that happen. You know, like, because if you're looking for mistakes with a microscope, yeah, you're always going to find them. But if you're actually using these on a gaming table, they're like 2-3 feet away from you, so you're never going to see any of those issues. Okay. Actually, that's not entirely everything. I probably want to have the same suggestion of this lighting direction on the base. So you can see that I've done this on this model as well, where there's like the dark gray of that side in the base, and then there's that kind of glow coming off this side here. So I'll do the same thing by painting the base in this kind of gradation of color. Would auction off an NFT of your profile pic. I hear that the bottom is falling out of the NFT market. I don't have a problem at all with that happening. I feel like so much of NFTs were based on people trying to score a quick buck, not people who are actually supporting artists and art. So I don't really have a problem with that market falling to pieces. You can see I'm doing actually lots of movements with the brush here because I want this concrete to not get, like, if I paint it smooth and fill in all the surface, then I kind of lose the texture detail, but instead I'm painting it splotchy so that it stays kind of looking rough. Zero, yeah, they're going out of fashion, thank God, yeah. You love pretending to love NFTs always get someone riled up. Yeah, I can imagine. Because they're kind of, I don't know, they're just not a positive thing. That's all. You know. When you see like ways that people use new technology, and you see people using new technology in ways that's going to help people, and you go, oh, that's really cool. That's making the world a better place. You see something like NFTs, and for a moment, for a brief moment, there, it's like, hey, some of these artists are finally making good money from the stuff that they've been making for years. And you go, that's cool, and then suddenly it's just like fucking 800 copies of a monkey for a profile pic, and it's like, oh, right. So you're just like, even mining bitcoins was too hard for you, so you just like templated some vector graphics and then copy pasted it a few times with different colors and stuff like that, and then sold each one for $10,000. What is Hi Dino Poke? Mark your balls. I don't know what's going on there. Uh, do you have a lot of NFTs? Okay, so we've got some color on the base, so you can kind of see that it's sort of brighter on that side, darker on that side. Color on this side of the model, not as much on that side, and we're going to accentuate this further by going up a shade in the gray now. I mean, if I wanted to, I really could have just done this with like black paint, white paint, and just mixed them together across this spectrum. But while I've got these pre-mixed paints, it's easy for me to just kind of work with them. Oh, wow. That's nearly dry in there. There's not much left of this one. I think I have a spare. I think I already bought another pot of this stuff in the expectation that it was running out soon. But I'll still get some life out of this before it dries up completely in there. It's a bit goopy as well. So I do need to mix it with water again, like the other one. At some point, I might go down a size of brush, but this one's still got a pretty good tip on it. These brushes just wear out over time and they stop forming a really nice sharp point. This one's reasonably old, but it's still okay, so I can probably still keep going with this before I want to either switch to a newer or smaller brush. Dodo, what's a paint color you would never use? I don't think that exists. I don't think there's anything that I would never use. Because I use, like, all kinds of things. I tend to use things at a great deal of vibrancy as well. So, I don't know if you know the hue saturation value model for colors. I would probably use things at a high saturation a lot of the time. Which is deeply ironic, because right now I'm using grey, which is like 0 saturation, because it has no color at all. But that's what I would normally do. I'm trying to think of, like, if there's any color, because I don't think there's any color that I shy away from or anything. I've got this set of colors here. You can see they're all lined up in, like, rainbow. Pantone 448C, ugliest color in the world. I don't know what that is. Let me just, I'll just finish this bit of paint here. And we'll look up this Pantone 448C that you speak of and see what it looks like. Yeah, I've got way more paints than I should. I've bought a lot of paints. Okay. Pantone 448C. Alright. Let's switch over to this scene here. Oh, that's not chicken cow. But anyway. It's this color, which is a drab dark brown, informally dubbed the ugliest color in the world. I've definitely used that before. And I think that where I've used that is in things like if you're painting dirt and bones and stuff like that, which is probably why people think of it as ugly, because it's like it's a dark orange in a sense, so it doesn't have the kind of warmth that you could get out of a more saturated brown or a readier brown that gives you like that kind of feeling of leather and things like that. And it doesn't have the pale kind of look that you could get with the same color if you mixed it with white or something, and you'd get the nice kind of sandy beach kind of color. So I can see where it sits in between those colors and is roughly the color of a baby's poo, you know? So I can see why people don't like it. But I've probably used it and things like it in order to get, like, you know, I could use this as a base for something like a camouflage or something, or a dark part of a plant that's in the shade. Could also use it as a basis for things like, you know, skins or leathers and stuff like that. So yeah, it totally could. Daniel says it's shit yellow. Dodo says that's my hair color. Oh my god, Nicole, you just tested positive for COVID. Oh no. I don't know what that means for you with your exams and stuff like that. Maybe they'll delay them for you so that you can get time to do them. But I hope you're feeling okay and you get time to just kind of rest it off, because it's really interesting. Like, you know, people talking about it's like the Omicrons are not quite as harsh on us as like Delta was and stuff like that. But I still think that, like, a lot of people getting it, it's like, yeah, this is like, sure, it's a flu-y thing, but it's like the worst flu they've ever had and stuff. So I think there's still there's still a lot of teeth in COVID, so I'm hoping that it's not too bad for you, and if it is, you get plenty of time to rest. Zero thinks it looks like a decent dirt color. Yeah, I think you definitely could if you're trying to do mud and stuff like that. And I think that like in miniature painting, you end up using a lot of kind of ugly colors because you're not necessarily doing a sort of paint your house the way that you would like it to look. You're doing a paint this thing to look like it's a miniature scale diorama of an actual scene. So Nicole said you're not feeling too bad right now, still looking to do exams on time, don't want to eat into your holidays. Yeah, fair enough. I can understand that. I mean, I'd assume that your exams are all online, so you can do that. I guess for some people it might not be that easy. I don't know, are any of the exams in person yet? I would assume not for a while. But I'm happily not having to deal with any of that stuff these days. So you can see with the lighter grey, things are starting to pop a little bit more now. And there's a lot of, as I'm painting, these like kind of minute decisions that I'm making about, okay, which side of this thing gets the color? Does it get all of the grey? Or is it only partial? Do I want this thing to show up? And also, considering I have pure white after this, have I left myself room to keep going brighter? But I don't know if you can see the side of that holster. I'm doing this fade across from the dark to the bright by using the paint's kind of properties, I guess, in that the paint is semi-transparent. It doesn't always lay down a completely opaque layer of color, which means if I do thin layers, I can kind of blend these colors into each other. I'm not doing full-on blending here. I'm mostly like, people would call this layering rather than blending, where you could still, see where I have and haven't laid down color, rather than like, if someone blends it really well, you can't really tell where one color ends and the other starts. But my style here is for like a kind of a gritty graphic novel thing, so I actually want some of the brushstrokes to appear. Usually later in the piece than this, though, because this is just like a gradation of highlights. But you can start to see the effect happening now. So lit from this angle, not lit from this angle, but there's still some light. And I can actually go in with the same color again, because it is semi-transparent. The second time I go over these bits, the brighter they get. So like this kind of chest plate here is getting quite bright now because I figure it would be. Well, if the armor is white, which I'm sort of assuming it is. And like this knee that is right kind of sticking out towards the light source. Hi, Tawaka. Saying hello and instantly vanishing. That's out of focus, isn't it? Okay. Oh, I need to do some on the base as well. So that direction. And so this time when I paint on the base, I won't go as far. So that way I can get that kind of idea that the light's coming from here and the light fades the further it gets along the concrete. It's a bit weird because like a lot of lights don't really work like that, but when you're doing this for artistic effect, you don't always exactly follow the reality of light. You follow the idea of what kind of stylistically looks cool and also what people will accept of it. Because like I'm painting this as if there's a light shining on it, but like I haven't really thought about exactly where that light is, just a rough direction. And I really like, because like this is a tiny little mini. I haven't thought that much about the different materials on the mini and how they would react to light in different ways. Because I'm just not going to get that detailed about it. Okay. The base. And it still looks pretty dirty, which is good. So that you can see the textural difference, that the base looks like concrete. It's still got that rough texture, which is actually molded into it. But like, I'm trying to make sure that I don't paint over it so that it loses it. And the model itself is starting to look lit from this direction. We can see from the front, we'll get some of that lighting and some of the dark. So hopefully that'll look cool from this angle. All right, now got our white here. Just going to shake out my pot of white paint. Most dangerous thing about keeping your paint water in a cup is also having a cup of water somewhere else on your table. I've never drunk the paint water, but I know people who have. Okay, so let's put a little bit of white paint on the palette. You can see how I don't really need much in terms of quantity of paint. One little drip should be more than enough for what I'm doing here. All right, I might swap brushes now. It's not a huge difference what I've got here. Wait, which one do I want to use? No, that's right. Yeah. So going from, I mean, it's maybe half the volume of the other one. It'll be slightly easier to control with the tiny amounts. I'd probably get away with just using this one, but for the moment, I will switch to my smaller brush. See how that goes. Actually, not sure if this is the brush I want to use, although that's a pretty fine tip. So it's actually one of my really old ones here, but for some reason, I don't know, maybe I was friendly to this one. I kept it clean and washed it regularly, because this one actually is in very, very good condition for its age. All right, gonna get some water, thin down this white a little, and see where I want it. So now I'm going to be a little bit more careful, because the white is is the top layer. It's going to be the brightest thing on the model. So I'm going to start by going for bits that are really going to catch the light. So there's this edge of this kind of, I don't know what it is, but it's on the glove there, and it looks like it has like a technical readout thing on it or something like that. So I'll play like that's metal. And so you see now I'm being much more careful and just catching really specific parts of the model with this white. Like so. I don't know how well you can see that, but I've got that kind of gradation of colors going along the outside of that. So some parts of it look like they're really picking up the light, picking up the white, and other parts look like they're a little bit further in the shade. Also, at this point, really kind of keeping my brush really clean. So like every time I load it up and paint, I'm cleaning it off again because I want this to have a really, really controlled consistency so that I can get these fine lines and exact shapes going on. Don't really know what these circular bits are, but I know they're sticking out from his pants. So I will highlight them so that they come up pretty bright. Now with the fabric here, I will start to use particular techniques so that the brush strokes are visible. And if the brush strokes are visible, I mean, you'd have to look pretty close to see them, but the fact that they're visible means that they give the illusion of there being a grain and a texture in these, as opposed to what I might do on the metal, which would be a different shape. So with the fabric here, all of the brush strokes are sort of going in the same direction. Then there are folds there, so I might catch the edges with the side of the brush rather than painting with the tip of the brush as I was doing before. And that's just to allow the sculpt of the model to show through. was laughing at myself. I have a habit of going real quiet once I'm concentrating on fine details. I feel like this is like when I was gluing the um those tiny pieces of the paper theaters. So when I'm being very, very precise, I'm less likely to be still talking. I guess another thing I have to do is decide how bright I want this to get. So if I compare it to the other one, it is starting to get to that brightness. It's harder to tell when I haven't done the black lining, because you can see how the white pops more with the black. It's all about contrast, right? It doesn't matter how bright you go. If there's nothing dark next to it, then our eyes kind of just calibrate it and don't see something as bright. Putting a nice hard edge on the metal here of the gun, so it looks like it's glinting on its edges rather than like the fabric, which just looks lit. Get it? Looks lit. I wasn't necessarily expecting to paint tonight, but I guess it makes sense because I was talking about that diorama, but there wasn't really anything more to do with that one, so might as well paint one of the models that goes on it. What is it, Chicky? I don't know if you heard her say. She's talking out there. This process also takes longer than a stream. Like I usually spend like what is the chicken? I usually spend a while on these. I think the thing that it's off screen, the thing that would usually be taking all my time is after this, doing all the black lining on it, which would be outlining every single piece. And so it's just like very, very intricate work. I might get time to do a little bit of it tonight, just to at least show you what the process is, rather than leaving this in this kind of half-finished state. It's actually most of what I want white on this. I do a little bit where that catches the light. Should do the face as well. I think I've done everything else except for the helmet. Painted the entire sort of front faceplate white in preparation for painting it black. Sorry, not black, red. Painting something white to prepare to paint it black, that would be a little counterintuitive. Okay. So we've got now the lit side and the dark side is much more obvious. But what I've done is I've made it so that, it's accentuated where the light catches. So the light specifically reflecting off certain parts of the model, but not other parts of the model. What I would usually do now is pick out some bits in red that I want to show up. So I was going to do the faceplate and probably a line down the gun somewhere. I don't know exactly where that's going to be. It might actually be on this side of the gun, so I might actually do it in white first so that the red shows up. Ooh. It's a little too wet and runny here. Alright. That should take red quite nicely, and then this side will be fully white. So just to show you... Oh, I haven't done white in the base. Switch back to my big brush for that. But I'm going to show you a little bit of how I would do the black outlining that makes it pop. And then I reckon that'll be enough for this evening. But what I might do is just finish what I'm doing with the white paint. So put some white paint there, and then I'll get my brush really wet. Do this thing where you can... The wetter the brush is, the less pigment there is in the paint. And I can get it to do this kind of blend between the white and the grey, like that. do it again. So what I should get by the end of this is that the base agrees with the model. So the base says, yep. I also think that the light is coming from this direction. So it's pretty bright on the edge. I might actually go for some not watered down paint now, right on the edge, to get it really bright. I mean, it's still mixing with the water a bit, so it's still sort of blending in. That'll do the trick. It's not perfect, but it's the right kind of messy. Actually going back in with some of the grey in the medium areas here. Yeah, that's cool. All right. So I wonder if that stuff's dry enough to go for the red. Probably not. I think most of it actually wants another layer of white to get that kind of clean white finish so that the red will pop. Oops. Getting pure white on minis is also reasonably difficult. It often involves like multiple layers of thin down paint. Here I didn't really need pure white because it's all kind of layering up through the greys, so if it gets close to white, that's enough. But there where I want the red over it, I've gone for pure white. Okay. So I won't do the red. What I'm going to do is going down a size of brush again to this really, really tiny one. Very specific purpose, the super small brushes, because they're really not gonna hold much paint. So you're only going to get a little bit out of it. But if I'm going to do some fine line work, it's nice to have a really small brush. And this one even has shorter hairs, so it doesn't turn as much. Hello. The little friend came to say hello. I don't know where she's going to sit. I don't know if she's going to sit with Chicken Cat Mitts or she wants to sit with me. What are you doing? She's sniffing all the MDF right now. Yes? Yeah? It's MDF. It's made of wood and stuff. You want to come sit up here? She's just kind of there looking up at me. What are you doing, chicken? Want to jump up? It's like she has to spend a while deciding what she's going to do before she jumps up. Oh, there we go. Hello, friend. Yes. Oh, you can't see her on that camera. Let's see if I can get the other camera. Hello. It's getting to that weather now where it's getting cooler, and the cooler it gets, the more likely she is to want to sit on a lap or something like that. This round so that you can see her and I can still paint. Maybe a little. Okay. So, to get this to like look like it really pops, as I was saying before, the contrast between the black and the white is one of the key elements. So, a lot of the time when we paint for brightness, the trap that we fall in is to paint for brightness, we paint bright. But it's actually putting it next to something dark that I think helps the most. So just put a little drop of that on my palette because I don't need much. I mean, everything, look at a little surface area I'm painting. So I got some of that ink on my brush, and let's go around this pants area here. I don't know if you can see Chicken anymore. I think I'm leaning in front of her now. And so this is the bit where I'm going to be super careful with what I'm doing, because anything that I do with this black ink is going to turn parts of the model completely black. So I will be, in a sense, obliterating all of the time I spent on getting those nice highlights. You can still see Chicken there when I'm not painting. Alright, so what I want to do is I want to make out that someone is drawing this like a comic. So where would they have drawn with their pen to make this look like folds of cloth? So I'm basically drawing a black line in each of the crevices here of the cloth. And around these little knobs or whatever they are. I don't know. Putting some black in the center as well, just to increase the contrast of them. Chicken hopped up. She's going exploring. There are these gaps or cuts. I'm not sure what they are in the fabric, but while the sculptor has chosen to put them there, I might as well give them a hand. Okay, we're going into the deep crevices here underneath, so I'm going to put a lot of black in there. Well, not a lot, but enough that it's really quite visible. So a lot of this is just in the cracks in between objects, like this half out of the holster pistol here. But also anywhere I think that someone would have drawn if they were drawing this with pens. So it fulfills two roles. One of them is, where should the shadow be on the model? And the other is, if this were pen and paper comic book, where would the lines be drawn? So it's a combination of outlining and shading, in a sense. I've done these before as well, where instead of just black lines, I would do like crosshatches and stuff where things are. So that's a particular style of comic as well. You can see these pockets, kind of tactical pockets. Oops, I missed a bit there, but I'm trying to like draw the outline around them, and then also accentuate the flap of the top of the pouch. And there's a little latch on it as well, and I make that detail stand out by outlining it in black. Actually, not even sure how much of this you're going to be able to see. It's very, very small. Probably out of focus as well. So I'm not sure how well you can see that, but you should, around this area here, the pockets, the holster, and the pants, be seeing the difference in how I'm getting that high contrast black through to white thing, as compared to around the face and the other pants and stuff, where I've got the brightness of the white, but it doesn't pop as much without the black to support it. Okay, we've been streaming for ages. That's what I would do to continue this model. This will probably be finished by the time I stream next. But you can see how I've built up the white from the grays to get my lighting direction. And then I use the black to do the outlining. And it's going to go around the whole model and do that black lining. But also do the red on it as well, so that it matches the rest of the group that it's going to be a part of. Okay. Let me just put the lid on my palette so that it doesn't dry out. And I'll wrap it up there. Thank you for coming along, everyone. So you've got a little insight into my current miniatures painting project, which is going to be more of these black and white things with a diorama, like that road diorama, to match it up as well. Thank you, Jojo. I'm glad that you like the look. I will post some more detailed photos on the Discord so you can have a look at it. Oh, chicken cam is just... Yeah, I'll turn that off. And so you'll be able to see in the photos a little bit more detail than what I can show on the live cam, because I can really light it and focus on it well. And then I'll finish painting it sometime in the next few days, and I'll show you the finished product, and you can be like, oh, cool, I can see where he was going with that. All right, thanks a lot, everyone. I will see you most likely next Wednesday. I'm pretty sure we'll still be Wednesdays for a little while yet. We've got some friends that we're just trying to organize, make sure we've all our timing can work for a weekly thing that we do. And so I will just most likely Warc will take over the stream again on Wednesdays for a little bit, and then we'll potentially go back to Mondays after a while. But I don't know exactly how long that's all going to be, so we'll figure it all out. Okay, see you soon.